My 11 Circle presents Cricbuzz Live. You have to go back to the Oval in 1979 and the Gabba in 2015 to count the only two matches in World Cup history that were abandoned without a toss. In this World Cup, we've had 3 in a week already. That I think tells the story of the amount of rain that's been lashing Great Britain, or certainly that central and southern part of England in the last few days. Unfortunate, but India and New Zealand will have to take 1 point each. We discussed the possibilities, the mental possibilities for both teams, but I've still got my guests in the studio, Joy Bhattacharya and Robin Uthappa. Kind of a foregone conclusion the way things were going there, but with the incessant drizzle and more importantly all the water on that outfield, it was always looking tough even for 2020.
Well, yeah, like you just stated, I think just 2 games before this in World Cup cricket to be abandoned without even the toss, and 3 in a week already, I think not just points out the scheduling of the tournament, also points out global warming, guys. It's very real, and we've been seeing this happening for the last year or so. It's been very real, the changes, everything that's happening around the world. So going forward, I think scheduling of these tournaments should be much better, because it's the most premier one-day tournament in the world. It's the World Cup, so we need to have better scheduling, because fans, players out there, I promise you no one will be more bored than the players out there, because it's not like they have their gadgets on them or anything for time to kind of pass and move, but it's very boring. How much can you have small talk and take a lap around the ground, and really there's nothing much to do. You just sit and wait around, aching to play a game, and then you don't have a game to play. It's very, very frustrating.
And add to those 3 games, Joy, we also had one which was just under 8 overs bowled. We didn't include it in that list because these were the list of matches without a toss, but still unfortunate the way things have gone.
Yeah, I've been looking back at it, and I've been thinking about one, the economics of it, and the other, the practicality of it. So yes, the ICC CEO, chief executive, came out with a statement saying that this is very difficult to do, and these are difficult, and these are nightmarish to do. The point of it is, yes, they are definitely difficult to do, but if you have been paid, say, just Star Sports paid the ICC about $2 billion for the rights to 2 World Cups and a few other tournaments, and you can assume another $500 million worth of rights, $2.5 billion worth of property and whatever it's worth. I'm sure there's enough money there to do even difficult scheduling if necessary. That means move a few matches up to other grounds. I mean, we managed to move during the Under-17 World Cup, 60,000 people from Guwahati to Kolkata. We moved a match in 48 hours because, you can't have a semi-final rained out. You can't have a semi-final going on the toss. So what I'm saying is these are difficult things to do, but not impossible. That's one part. The second part of it is come to the actual ground itself, okay? I can perfectly understand if the ground is totally inundated from the start. But the reason this match will not start here today is not because they didn't protect the main field. It's because they could not protect the outfield because they did not have the equipment to do it and the groundsmen to maintain it. Those are solvable problems in my opinion. That's my point.
Yes, Virat Kohli, of course, after the match said, yes, for the sake of the players, you didn't want any sort of injuries, which is backing up exactly what Joy said. But just to put into perspective the kind of grounds, Eden Gardens in Calcutta has a situation where they can cover the entire ground. We saw the history and grounds in Sri Lanka have that. Even in England itself, Lords came out with this fabulous hover cover. Even before that, in Birmingham, it goes back to 1980. It goes back to 1980 when they started off taking pieces of the North Sea pipeline and adding tarpaulin to that to try and cover the entire ground. Now, there were practical issues with that because A, it became really heavy with the North Sea pipeline, and there was sweating under the covers. So then they went to step 2. They got something called the Brumbrella. Brum because of Birmingham, and then they had the son of Brumbrella. But what it shows is that they have the capacity to think, and these were only for bilateral series and county games. So obviously, if you can take a step forward from there and get an improved version of the hover cover when there isn't sweating at the bottom, it's possible.
Yeah, absolutely. Everything that we're discussing today is possible because it's all been tried and tested, right, in the past. But it's actually applying and implying, doing those things when it actually matters in a tournament like this and a tournament of this stature. And I think ICC may have to relook how they plan these tournaments, and because obviously the fans are disappointed, the players are disappointed, and not playing each other in the league phase before these potential teams playing each other in the semi-finals, it's not good for either sides, right? It puts a lot of pressure on either sides. At the end of the day, that's a different game altogether, but you having played each other in the league phase will give you a sense of knowing of what you're going to face against that same opposition in the knockouts.
There's also one more aspect of it. There is, yes, of course, the covering. But again, there's another aspect to possibly look at, and that is the kind of drainage you have on the outfield, on the field itself. Two examples that come to mind: Basin Reserve in Wellington, Port Elizabeth, and even the Chinnaswamy Stadium in Bangalore, where you've seen the amount of rain. Robin will know about that.
That's amazing what KSE has done there with their drainage system. They, I think Mr. Brijesh Patel brought someone down from the US in these baseball grounds where it rains pretty often in the States. So brought them down and had the same drainage system fit into the KSCA. It did, obviously because we were the first ones to do it in the country, it did dry out the wicket a little bit and made the wicket slower, but they found a way around it. They understood the permutations and combinations required to make that work, and today it doesn't matter how much it rains in Bangalore, in half an hour you're good to go.
Even so close to home, Joy, I'll get you back into that. 2007, one more memory I have of it is a test match. We've talked so much about the ODI series in 2007. The test match in 2007, where Dhoni played a fabulous innings to draw the test match with Srishant at the other end at Lord's. I can tell you on the fourth and fifth days, there was so much rain. When play actually started, thanks to the good drainage, the area outside, which is called the Harris Garden, was flooded knee-deep in water, and they were playing inside. That just showed focus on the playing surface, and you'll have what the fans want or what the players want.
Absolutely, and I couldn't agree more with you on that. That's one part of it, the field. The second is, both of us have worked on television broadcasts for a fairly long time, and the one truth of the matter is that once you've set up on a ground somewhere, you know where the cameras are supposed to go. It's very much plug and play. You drive in there, you drive the OV van into a particular place, you pick up the cameras, you set them up there, the wires already, they just have to be connected because everyone knows where they're going. So suppose you told them that, okay, if you don't play today at New Zealand, then the India-New Zealand match will be rescheduled, say, for Lord's on Monday. That's not so difficult to do because Lord's will already have this, the crew will have already set up. The crew of New Zealand for this match can easily move to Lord's for that particular match. So the fact of the matter is, it's a matter of scheduling. Then you come to businesses like, can we get hotel room for them? If you can't get 60 hotel rooms for the players and the teams, I'm sorry, bad luck. I mean, that's what I'm saying, that it's going to be difficult to do. Rescheduling of any time on a tournament like the World Cup is going to be difficult. But is it worth the price of seeing matches washed out? That's my point. I think the opportunity cost is too high. You have to do difficult things if you're the World Cup and you come once in 4 years.
It's definitely a logistical nightmare, but it's like Joyda said, I don't think it's not. I don't think it's impossible. I think it's situations like these in tournaments such as these that suddenly raise the bar in future World Cups and future ICC related tournaments. Now this is going to be a standard that's set and say, okay, we've had this in the previous World Cup. Moving forward, you know that this won't happen. Things would change everywhere. You know, I think this would be where they get out of their comfort zone and build another standard for themselves, and they raise the bar a little bit more.
I can tell you, on the subject of hotel rooms, you can even have a situation in England where places are so close to each other.
Yeah, you can stay in the same hotel room, play and come back.
And you can drive back 2 hours.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sometimes you drive 2 hours within a city in India to get to a game.
Absolutely. That's the advantage of England. In England, actually, it's not difficult to shuffle around OBs. It's not that difficult to shuffle around hotel rooms. Yes, you'll have to get more satellite broadcasts, but almost anyone who's taking a satellite feed out of there is taking it for every match. It's not that they're only picking their own matches. There are going to be inconveniences, but inconveniences versus not having a World Cup match. And today, Indian New Zealand people are still saying, okay, Indian New Zealand not happy. If the match does not happen on Sunday, they will be hell to pay. Yeah. I promise you that.
Yeah. And there is a little bit of rain around, shall we say, in Manchester, because a lot of the grounds down south, and we're going to be talking about that game soon in Southampton, the rain has gone away. It's bright and sunny, just like it was in Paris after it rained there for the semis and quarters, and then pushed its way up into the UK. So in central UK, which is Birmingham, Manchester, and moving further up to Durham and Leeds, that's where the rain is kind of pushing up. So don't think there's going to be absolutely dry, but we certainly expect better conditions on Sunday. Well, let's quickly have a look at the points table and see what it means now for these two teams. New Zealand were on top. They stay on top with that extra point. Now on 7, India jumped to 3rd place with 5 points, having played a game less than most other teams. And only 3 teams in the tournament, as you can see, the zeros in NRR are England, Afghanistan and Australia, who have not been affected by the rain as yet. So as things stand on the points table, I know we've previewed it. Now that you can have a look at it, 7 and 5, I think New Zealand will be feeling pretty good about life at the moment. Fairly.
Yeah, they would. It didn't matter if they were going to play or not at the end of the day, because if they didn't play, if they got washed out, then they still remain at the top, and India moves to the third position. So for them, unless they played and lost, that would have been an issue. But I'm pretty certain they would have wanted to play as well. But yeah, having said that, they're playing the next game on the 19th, which is a few days away right now. So they get a little bit of a break. And if you look at that, from the 8th of June to the 19th of June, that's 11 days without play. So they would have lost a little bit of momentum, because there's a little bit of a lull, and they'll have to build momentum again. That can be pretty dangerous, and could work to South Africa's advantage.
On the other hand, New Zealand will think that's 2 easy points for us.
Yeah, what I'm
With all due respect to South Africa. Let's
I thought that was banned here. What's going on?
I just added it for South Africa's sake.
No, but absolutely. And if you look at New Zealand's schedule, the only thing they look at is their last 3 matches. If you look at it again, there's Pakistan, there's Australia, there's England. Australia, England are tough sides to beat, and Pakistan is a unpredictable side, right? So they'll say, we need to then seal us with 2 wins in the next, and we need
before
to
26th of June, we need
before the 26th of June, we need to be semi-final done, because we can't go into the last 3 matches saying that we're going to win this, because Pakistan is totally unpredictable. Australia and England are the really tough teams, so they would just say, let's knock off the next 2 matches and finish off. That's what we need to do. We cannot afford to wait longer than that.
As Simon Dool said, they started the World Cup playing the Asia Cup. Now they're back to playing the World Cup, and there'll be one little game against Pakistan left for them. For India, of course, we know where the next game is going to be, but let's put into perspective the whole schedule. The big one, 16th of June, India versus Pakistan at Old Trafford, Manchester. Then they come back down south to the south coast to Southampton to play Afghanistan before heading back up again. They, I think, clocked the most miles to Manchester to play the West Indies on the 27th. How do you look at India's schedule vis-a-vis this break they've had? Again, for them, 9th to 16th, not as big, but still a week.
Yeah, it's still a week, but so it's not like they have to wait too long before they play another game. They had 2 days of practice, which half a day will go in traveling, half day recovery from that traveling, and they practice the next day, and then they're into a game, right? And they probably have 1 more day of practice, which will be a top-up kind of practice, which won't be too long. So it would be ideal for them, because I think India's scheduling is fantastic. They got just the right amount of breaks between matches, and for which each one of them will have enough break to recover from any niggles that happen. So I think they've scheduled their schedules are like pretty ideal for them. So I think moving to the next match, they should be even more pumped, because they didn't get a game today. They would have liked to have a game under their belt and actually won it, moving into that one. But I don't think they'll have much of a problem still going into this Pakistan game.
Yeah, the only one, there's a small gap. It's England and Bangladesh, but that's where they're staying in the same venue. They're in Birmingham, they play England, they play Bangladesh, 3 days, and they stay at the same venue.
Plus, there's one other advantage to this schedule. They look at it and say they played on the 9th. 9th is the day he broke his finger, Shikhar broke his finger, okay? Now, if they say that we can just play out Pakistan, okay? Pakistan is a big challenge because New Zealand is gone. Now, if Pakistan is a big challenge, if they beat Pakistan, they'll reckon they can handle Afghanistan maybe without Shikhar. Yeah. Then it's straight to the 27th.
That's the one I think they're targeting.
Yeah, so they then have given him 18 days to recover that finger of his. Yeah. And that's quite a long time. So they'll say that if he can handle Pakistan without him, that'll just be 1 match without him. Afghanistan, we should be able to do with or without him. That's how they look at it.
Yeah. I was initially going to say thumbs up to Shikhar, but not with that broken thumb. All right, let's skip that. You have to do things like that when it's rained. At least we have access to things. We've had a bit of cards that we've played. Uno, by the way. We're allowed to say that. But let's look ahead to what is next. Because after lots and lots of rain, what we've heard is Southampton has brightened up. And I think once again, I know we've said that for a lot of contests, but this one seems to have a bit of an edge to it, because the West Indies have been playing good cricket and England have been piling up 300s like they do it for a living.
Yeah, absolutely. I think it's a fantastic match, because this is, I think, though England has played some good sides, this West Indies attack is actually one of the better attacks they're going to come up against. And while they were pretty good against them in the West Indies, it'll be interesting to see how they handle it. O'Shane Thomas has given them that X factor up front, and I think the thing about the England batting is, as we talked about it before, we have 8-9 really good batsmen, and no matter how many wickets we fall, we're going to keep going for it. That's their policy, saying that only 1 day out of 10 is there going to be a chance that 7 of our 8 batsmen fail. Otherwise, somebody or the other always gets going. 2 or 3 get going. They get big ones, and it happens. Now, will they do that, or will they say that, okay, no, let me watch and wait a bit, let me just take a more cautious strategy? And because it's a league game still, I'm willing to bet England's going to go hell for leather from the first ball, and that will be interesting to watch.
Now, Robin, before England and West Indies went head-to-head in that one-day series, they were all saying, it's going to be so one-sided. Chris Gayle, we don't even know if he's playing or not because he only wants to play the World Cup. Okay, fine, he's playing. He'll be playing this series. And what a series it turned out to be.
Oh, it was a fantastic series. For me, I look at this game and I think of Fire in Babylon. I think
what a great.
I think that's what you'll see, because with their 4 frontline fast bowlers and their proper fast bowlers, right? So you know that's going to be good fun game to watch tomorrow. So I'm really keen about watching that game. I think the West Indians will give the English batsmen a little run for their money, and for all you know, there might be a counter attack as well, and you know, because they have batting to match up that bowling lineup as well.
Yeah.
If you say counter attack, well, yes, they've got lots of stroke makers, but one name has to come to mind. One big name has to come to mind at the top of any counter attack, no matter what the opposition is, and that is Christopher Henry Gayle. He was very impressive. Maybe he's been a little selective choosing his games, but if he chooses them like that, West Indies won't be complaining. I mean, look at that series record for a man who wasn't even certain to be playing then.
No, absolutely, he's in fabulous touch. Also, you know, as they say, that the last spark before you go, he knows he has limited time. This is almost definitely his last World Cup, so he'll want to make it count. And Chris, if you see, whenever he's put his mind to saying, I'm going to make it count, he's made it count. Whether when he went from KKR to RCB, he made it count. When he, Kings and Punjab said, we had taken him just for marketing purposes. Okay, wait, I'll show you what marketing purposes are all about. And he made it count. So he will make it count. And whenever I see the West Indies in England, I just remember one moment, and that defined swag in the 70s and 80s. The last ball, one of the last balls that Viv Richards was facing in the 79 World Cup final. And he just walks across his stumps in those days. He's basically standing outside off stump, and the ball is on leg stump, and it's Mike Hendrickson. He hits it over square leg for 6. And the way he did it, in those days, there were no A.B. de Villiers, no Tia. He scored a century against them, amazing century, and they say that his was not the more destructive innings. The more destructive innings was Collis King at the other end, who was went absolutely berserk for some 86 or 47 balls. But the point of it was a statement. The shot is that you are bowling on the leg stump, it doesn't matter where you bowl. I'm going to walk across and hit you for 6. And it's just the attitude that it exuded, and for many years England has struggled in it. Finally, England has a team where they can match, firepower for firepower, they can match the West Indies. So I just really looking forward to this match.
Yeah, it's as you said, it's about making a statement, and they made plenty of statements against the English, and the English have found time to respond. While we did talk about Chris Gayle in that series, let's not forget the likes of Jos Buttler, who did perform. But let's stick to the West Indies for the moment and have a look at their squad and see if we think that there could be any possible changes. The reason we haven't put Andre Russell in there is because he was rested, his knee was checked out. They probably knew that game was going to be washed out, so they weren't going to really test him out there, but could see him coming back if he's reasonably fit.
Yeah, he walks into the side, he walks back into the side. He'll be fine. He'll be fine from those, knowing Andre, knowing him, that he wouldn't
trust Robin on that one.
Yeah, he wouldn't like to miss too many games, so he's going to be fine for that one. So he'll be fine, he'll play that one. I think it's a hard decision to make. Again, depending on the wicket, you'd have to see if Ashley Nurse finds a place there, or they'll again they'll rest Kemar Roach and bring back Andre. So Andre will definitely play. It depends on who goes out.
What would you say? Because I know Kemar Roach has just come in. He's just getting a feel of the tournament. Tough.
I have a sense that really, I'd go with him. I'd say Ashley would be the first victim if they were. I mean, if they had to sacrifice someone, it would be Ashley. I would still, if Evan Lewis was fit, I'd still play him ahead of Darren Bravo, definitely. I don't know whether he's fit yet or not, but if he is fit and he's had 7 days to get fit, I'd play him ahead of Darren, because just in terms of what he gives you in terms of a start, he takes a lot of pressure off the others as well. Because if he opens with Gayle, he allows Gayle again to take time, do his own thing, because he's just naturally so attacking.
I would have sort of stuck my neck out and said maybe they think of Ashley Nurse because of a little insurance in the batting department. But as we saw from Jason Holder the other day, he doesn't trust Ashley Nurse too much, even though he has contributed with the bat. Because that shot that Holder played was more about losing Brathwaite.
Yeah, it did seem like that, but you never know what it actually is, because the thinking could have been a reactive shot to what he saw. So we can't read too much into it. It's very hard to call that from here, right? But I'd have to say that if they look as in, I think if they're looking for someone to do a spinner's job, then Chris Gayle can probably give you those 5 overs. Because he's not a muck with the ball. He can really.
But he hasn't bowled for a while.
He hasn't bowled for a while. But you know Gayle with his conviction and with his attitude, and
he puts his mind to it, he'll do it.
Universal boss and all that. So, you never know. He can come up and do something.
What's the term that Mitchell Stark, one of the Aussie fast bowlers, used for Chris Gayle instead of universe boss?
Mr. World or something like that. Yeah, he just completely messed it up. I think it was Pat Cummins.
Pat Cummins.
Yeah, and Pat should know better than, you don't say that, especially when you're going to play against Gayle in probably 3 other T20 tournaments around the world.
That was intentionally done.
Yeah, he must have.
The Aussies play these mind games with
he would have chubbied him
the oppositions at all times. So I'm pretty certain it was a mind game thing.
It certainly was. What about England? As I said, just going back to that series itself, it was 2-2, and England played their part as well after the reverse in the Test series. One of the big questions is for Moeen Ali, of course. Not that he missed it with injury, because he went off for the birth of his child. So he probably comes back into the side knowing that the West Indies could be susceptible. A little bit of off break early on, particularly to Chris Gayle.
They have how many left-handers? The West Indies have quite a few.
Quite a few.
Actually. So Moeen will probably almost definitely play. The question is who sits out then? Is it Mark Wood? It has to be one of Wood or
Plunkett. It would be Mark Wood, I think.
Yeah,
likely. Doesn't seem like there's any other
natural candidate.
Yeah, natural candidate really.
Yeah, but again, in terms of their performance, the runs that they've put on the board, England have been simply phenomenal in this World Cup so far. Never mind what the opposition is. Even when they lost a game, they put on 300 plus.
Yeah, I thought England has been the perfect, almost picture perfect ODI side till 2019. And what is frightening is to that picture perfect side, you have added a fast bowler who's probably, as of now, probably the most menacing in the world. I mean, there are very few bowlers whose ball hits an off stump and then goes straight and hits the boundary for a 6. I mean, without a bounce. And that's Jofra Archer has just taken an English side and then added another attacking component to it that they didn't have. So I think they're a frighteningly good side, and it will take they'll take some real beating. They might have off days, but on the whole, to beat that team on a regular, consistent basis is really difficult.
And one of the keys for them has been the fact that if one doesn't perform, the other does. We often saw Joe Root slipping under the radar, but then he came up with 100. When he decided to fail, it was Jason Roy at the other end.
He didn't decide to fail.
I know. Oh, God. I know. For a way, it's like he feels like it breaks his heart.
Nobody decides to fail.
I'm sorry, that was supposed to be a throwaway line.
No, that was about Bangladeshi players.
Oh, gosh.
I just want to make life easier for you.
When Joe Root had an off day and he was dismissed completely against his wishes. But again, when Root didn't perform and Root didn't step on, that didn't come out right.
I love the way you're choosing your words.
That didn't come out right either. That didn't perform. When Root had an off day, is that all right?
Yes, that's right.
When Root had an off day, Jason Roy was lethal against Bangladesh.
Jason Roy is always going to be like their strike force, right, for England, because he's one of those guys at the top of the order who's in scorching form. For me, I think he's one of the top 5 run getters in this World Cup, and I really think that he's going to be a trump card for England going forward in this World Cup. And I think just the fact that you have Jason Roy and Johnny Bairstow at the top of the order makes life a lot more easier for someone like Root to kind of just fly under the radar, and score runs quietly and, keep piling them on, and I think it's great to have someone like that at number 3, because he's not someone who's going to give his wicket away easily. He's going to really make the opposition work hard to get him out, and he's someone who, once he gets going, then he's a busy player. Even the last 100 he got almost a run of a ball, so that he's a solid player. And then you have Butler down in the middle order. He can be absolutely menacing for any.
And we haven't seen the best of Bairstow and Owen Morgan yet.
We haven't. And Owen Morgan's always one of those guys who'll come in and scores his 50s, 60s again quietly. He flies under the radar simply because of guys like Jason Roy and Bairstow at the top of the order. So they have a very solid batting lineup and a very long one, with Stokes again there at number 5 and number 6. He's coming in at number 5, but I'd like Butler to come in at number 5, because I think that would, with the way he bats and counter attack and all of that, he really takes the game away from the opposition, and it's very hard to come back from there because you lose momentum within the game, right? And when you lose momentum within the game, the advantage has gone away from you, and it's all about those little factors when you play a game, right? Because when you go into a game, match starting even Stevens. But when you go into it and then someone's got to take to the attack and gain advantage and gain control of the game. And with the likes of Johnny Bairstow and Jason Roy there at the top, at the batting order for England, and in the bowling with Jofra Archer there at the top, they always have a chance of taking that advantage away. And in 50-over cricket, you have a chance to get that advantage back, come back into the game. But more often than not, you see the guys who seize control of the game first. They're not going to let go of that control very easily, and that momentum factors within the game play a big factor in who ends up winning the match, right? So I think these guys have a lot of those players, because someone like Butler can actually come out there even when things aren't going well for his team. If the advantage is at the other side, he's got the ability to literally flip it on its head and say, you know what, I'm counter-attacking, I'm taking back the advantage and keeping it with us, not giving it back to you. You really have to earn it from us. He's that kind of a player, and he's got that kind of an impact on a match, on a 50-over game. So that is what makes him the match winner that he is. So he is lethal for England, and with him coming down at number 5 would make things even more dangerous for anybody playing against England.
Yeah, he's played 2 different roles already in this tournament. One, a rescue act against Pakistan, and when things are going well, he comes in and continues the momentum.
Absolutely. And that's the thing, just the easiest way to do this is just count for every team, just look at it, forget their batting order, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Just the batsmen batting at 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. Look at the other 9 sides and look at England. And the difference is marked. The difference is absolutely marked. The difference in quality that they have all the way down. That's what gives the top of the batsmen the confidence to go and say, let's go for it. There's enough batting down there.
Yes, and when you see all-rounders like Chris Boakes coming later on the order, Adil Rashid's got first-class 100. Jofra is the one, and they don't really rate him yet. That's why they keep pushing him at number 9 and 10. But I can think when England get used to Jofra Archer, he'll be pushing the likes of Boakes, even Moeen Ali, to get up the order.
They talk about him in the counties. He hits a very long ball. He whacks it really hard, and he can play it. He showed it in the IPL. He can bat.
Oh, he does. He certainly can bat, and which makes England, I reckon, the toughest side to choose from when it comes to picking your My 11 Circle team, because you really want a bit of everyone.
That was beautiful. What a cutaway. Lovely.
I had to because I'm already starting to think about my team. I mean, you better start thinking of your team, all of you. England, West Indies from Southampton is the game. And yes, Dada Kawada remains every single time. But this is going to be a tough one, because once you get to that top order, who do you pick, who do you leave out is most important.
Very hard.
Yep.
Extremely hard when you have teams like England and West Indies playing. Because West Indies are like the other, if you go by current form, the other unpredictable side, right? They can turn up and spoil your party like that, right? So they have the ability to do that. So, they're so unpredictable. So it's so hard to pick your players in this My 11 Circle team. It's going to be very hard for guys tomorrow.
Yes. We're on?
We're on.
All right, we're on. Time for Robbie to make his comeback. Joy, you've got to give us a reply to what was, I think, a fabulous question that we had. Some of you have spotted it, but let's give you the answer first. Joy, take it away.
Yeah, here goes. So the question was that the first did it for a county whose home ground is the scene of action today. The second was one in the dressing room today. The third dropped an important World Cup catch on this very day. Who's the fourth? And the answer is the fourth is Yuvraj Singh. He's the fourth to hit 6 sixes in a row in a first-class or List A match. Gary Sobers used to play for Nottinghamshire, which is the ground that you're playing here. Trent Bridge is their home ground. Ravi Shastri is in the India's dressing room planning for the next match by now. And Herschel Gibbs famously dropped on this particular day, Steve Waugh, and Steve Waugh turned around and said, son, you've just dropped the World Cup. So these are the guys who hit 4 sixes in a row. And I thought it was a well-disguised slower ball, but I think quite a few guys hit it out of the park.
The only good thing is, Gary Sobers, they were playing an away game for North. They were playing in Swansea against Glamorgan because it was raining in Nottingham. So he couldn't have hit sixes at Trent Bridge. But who's the winner on this occasion? A lot of you would have picked it up very quickly. And Gojay Helekar. Gojay Helekar, if that's the way it is.
I think he's 19 years old.
Yep.
22nd November 2000, I think.
Yeah, it's very simple. 221100. That's a nice date of birth to have.
Yeah. That's quite nice, isn't it?
Yep. Millennium Kid, 221100. Well done. especially to pip all our other regulars at the post. Also, one lesson I'm going to take out of this show is I know I need to be careful about what I say in Robin. Now I feel what bowlers feel when they bowl to you, because one bad ball and you can see him shimming down, walk, bang, 6. Oh dear, what was it I said? I'm not going to say it again. I'm going to ban myself from saying that on the show. He got himself out. No, nobody gets themselves out. Well put in place.
Was it,
he decided to have a bad day.
Yeah, he
decided to not score that day. Something like that.
Robin.
He decided not to score some runs. He decided to fail. Yeah.
Terrible. We'll delete that if possible. Can't really delete it. It's live. It's Cricbuzz Live. It's My 11 Circle presents Cricbuzz Live. So you have to be careful exactly what you say. Well, it was disappointing, gentlemen, but as always, the conversation is stimulating. Thank you, Joy.
Absolutely.
Thank you, Robin.
Pleasure.
That's one of the upsides to having rain. You can have all these conversations, all the stories coming out, and we'll still keep the stories coming, but hopefully for tomorrow it'll be stories accompanied by some scintillating cricket between England and the West Indies from the Hampshire Bowl down in Southampton. From My 11 Circle presents Cricbuzz Live, it's goodbye.